Welcome to this webinar, 4 Ways Dealers Can Attract and Service Customers, brought to you by Autosphere.ca in partnership with Podium. My name is Hugh Evans, Editor-in-Chief at Autosphere.ca, and I'll be your host and moderator for this webinar today. I'm joined by Isaac Hernandez, Senior Director of Sales, and Haley Sontag, Senior Marketing Specialist for Podium. Isaac has many years of experience helping dealers solve business problems, as well as streamlining client communications. This experience has helped give him a keen understanding of business practices within the industry and identify specific issues and solutions for clients. Isaac, welcome to the webinar.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
This is Haley Sontag, Senior Marketing Specialist at Podium. Haley has an extensive background in multiple areas of marketing, including demand generation, market research, and communications. She has worked with hundreds of businesses to bolster their online conversion, increase lead generation, and create a convenient customer journey at every step of the way. Haley, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Hugh. Good to be here.
So today we're going to start off with an overview, an introduction to 4 ways dealers can attract and service customers.
Thank you for the introduction there. And yeah, we're excited to chat about these 4 different ways. So some of the key points today that we'll go over, and then we'll jump into these different strategies. But some of the key points to think about as we're going through this is really what dealers should really consider today to maintain and increase their visibility online, how local SEO plays a pivotal role in helping dealers cultivate new customers in their marketplace, understanding some strategies that can be effective in helping them do that. And then as technology and SEO continues to evolve, some of the things that dealers need to be aware to ensure their messaging doesn't get lost. We're also going to go over when it comes to effectively turning leads into prospects, some of the tactics and that dealers can employ to ensure a successful transition. And lastly, how Podium can help dealers successfully attract and service customers. So jumping into that, basically want to start off with starting out, what are the 4 ways dealers should consider today to maintain and increase their visibility online? The first and foremost is, focus on the online experience. I think, we can dive a little bit deeper, but obviously, with COVID and going through this pandemic, I think we've all learned that, how important that online experience has become, and, really how this pandemic kind of sped up the process and us making sure that we adapted to create a better online experience for all of our customers. The second thing we'll talk about is basically opening and communicating in the preferred channels that customers are wanting to communicate with you. And I think, all of those, in the dealerships know that there's so many channels, so many different places that customers can communicate with you. And it really is up to us. And we'll discuss a little bit deeper on that as well. But then we want to make sure, the third strategy is building a relationship by providing a personalized experience. And I think, that's been a big challenge for a lot of dealerships is how do you build that personalized experience when most of the transaction can be done online now? And we will definitely talk a little bit more about that in depth. And then, the last strategy is collecting payments via text or app. So yeah, let's dive a little bit deeper into that. So as we look at that, how can local SEO play a pivotal role in helping dealers cultivate new customers in their marketplace? Basically, the first and foremost is the way that customers find your dealerships today is no longer the yellow pages. I think we all know that. Almost half of all Google searches are looking for location information, and 79% of those local searches done on a mobile device result in an offline purchase. So I think the first thing to really embrace is Google. It's kind of become the search engine king, and we just really have to make sure that we're embracing it, even though at times we may not agree with everything Google does. It's better to just, kind of adapt and make it our own and tailor those experiences our own. And obviously not only Google, but everywhere that we can be found. So the second is, this is the way, so the other thing to talk about here is this is the way that customers are finding you. They are pulling out their phones and searching for a dealership that can solve their problem, which would be the need, basically like for a new car, right? And so the reality is that everyone's on their phones, right? Like 80% of people, when they're starting a search, it's coming from mobile. So we just have to be ready to, basically adapt to that and make sure that we're not only providing a great experience online, but a great mobile experience. And I think the one thing to dive in there is the difference between a desktop online experience and a mobile online experience.
In here too, what Isaac's talking about and what we want to really focus on here is basically your customer's journey. Put yourself in their shoes, all the way from the point where they realize that they want to purchase a new vehicle to maybe the next time they want to purchase a new vehicle, from realizing the problem, looking at different dealerships online and where they can go. And then what comes next? They have questions. They want to contact you. They want that personalized experience that we know dealerships are already so good at offering. And then purchasing the vehicle, coming back for, say, service appointments, or maybe they trade in their car and get a new car later on. That's the journey that we're talking about that we really want to focus on. And that's what those 4 steps are. Focusing on the online experience is the first one. Opening and communicating in their preferred channels is number 2. Number 3 is building that relationship and giving them that personalized experience. And then the 4th is collecting payments. Those are the 4 steps, I guess, of the customer journey that we really wanted to pull out of today's webinar. But there are so many other steps in the journey to consider as well as we're kind of going through this. So that's the general overview we have there.
One of the big things that we talk about always is technology and SEO continues to evolve. And some of the things that dealers need to be aware of is to ensure their messaging doesn't get lost, right? Because it's always changing and they want to stay up to date. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
That's a great question. There are so many things that dealers can do to boost rankings in local search. And like Isaac was talking about, 81% of people, or a lot of people, own a smartphone, and what the stat is 79% of local searches done on a mobile device resulted in offline purchase. So it's crucial to get found online. What do we do now that's going to be relevant in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years, because things are continually changing. Even in the past year, look how much has changed in terms of the customer journey. So that's a great question of being aware of how SEO continues to evolve. And one thing I'm going to say here is there are very general things to boost SEO: claiming a Google My Business listing, adding and updating information, adding pictures. But one of the quickest and most impactful ways to boost rankings as it stands now is to manage and collect online reviews. Nobody knows exactly what and how much Google's algorithm takes into account when determining search rankings, but we do know that reviews play a huge, huge role in determining rankings specifically for local search. As a brief intermission here, the difference between local search and organic search is local search includes location location signals. So the difference would be someone is searching for toothpaste, for example, and if someone just searches for toothpaste, that's all they search for, they're most likely going to get organic search results that say the definition of toothpaste, the history of toothpaste, maybe do-it-yourself recipes for homemade toothpaste, or social media accounts for e-commerce sites that sell toothpaste. It's a huge list with a big variety of results. If somebody searches for toothpaste near me, that's going to trigger local search results. It's going to trigger the Google Map Pack, which is a list of usually 3 or 4 of the closest businesses and most relevant and prominent businesses near that searcher listed on a map in relation to where that searcher is. And that's local search. That's how customers are finding businesses. That's how potential customers are finding your dealership, is they're searching for dealerships near me. Like Isaac was saying, people aren't necessarily going to the yellow pages or even relying solely on a recommendation from a family and friend, but they're supplementing that information with online search and specifically local search. So that intermission over there, let's go back over here to online reviews play a huge role in those rankings of how you're ranked and getting found in local search. Now, obviously, 4.8 stars is better than 2 stars, but Google actually looks at 4 things in terms of reviews when determining ranking. The first is going to be quality. That includes your star ranking. So 4.8 versus 2. That also includes the content in the review. So what customers are saying. The second is going to be quantity, how many reviews you have. And then the third is recency. And the fourth is frequency. Those 4 areas are all very important in regards to your online reviews, because that's how Google's going to determine how highly ranked your business should be. If you have a lot of reviews and a lot of 5-star reviews, but the most recent review is from 2 years ago, Google might not even know if you're still in business because you're not getting those recent reviews. So getting reviews on a consistent basis and asking every single customer for a review is going to help build your online reputation, which can lead to more customers who will leave more reviews. That will help you get more customers. So that's kind of the first step in the journey of them finding you.
Yeah, and one thing I'd like to add to that, Haley, you know, as we think of reviews, like when we're talking to customers, you know, and that's kind of my role here. I'm talking to dealerships every day. And one of the ways to look at reviews is let's think about kind of the Amazon experience, right? Like when we go on Amazon, before we purchase it, the first thing we look at is the reviews. And so we know word of mouth, ads, everything that you're doing out there that you're putting into your dealership, it typically funnels right back to your reviews, because people want to verify that you're a dealership they want to do business with and that they're going to get a great experience out of you. So on top of boosting your rankings, it also works as like a verification for your customers and validation that, hey, the business that I'm going to, this dealership that I'm going to buy a unit from does great business, right? They have a 4.8 star rating. They have thousands of reviews. Yes, they get bad reviews once in a while. Everyone does, but that's just people who, no matter what you do, they're never going to leave you a good review. And there's just some people out there who, you know, I tell my customers just are always unhappy and they're going to leave you a negative review. But your goal has to be to continuously provide a great experience and get that high star rating reviews from your customers, because it'll drown out any negativity and it'll validate the type of business that your customers want to work with.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Isaac. Thanks for sharing that. Sort of moving on, one of the things that we look in the dealership world is talking about leads and then talking about prospects and kind of the conversion or the transition, if you like. So very interested to hear from you guys, you know, when it comes to effectively turning leads into prospects, what are some of the tactics dealers can employ to ensure that transition is successful? Yeah,
that's a great question. We actually have some slides. Let's see if I can share this and give a visual here. This is kind of going back to what I was talking about with the customer journey. So we've talked a lot about discovery and probably even consideration, how customers want to find a new car and now they need to be connected with a business that can help solve their problem. So you focused on your online reviews, you have a large quantity, a great star rating, they're recent and they're coming in frequently. That's great. That's going to help you get found. But what comes next? That's a great question. How do you turn these leads that are finding you online into paying customers? What's the next step in the journey? And what we'd say there is, with these 2 steps we have here on the screen. Now, this is a generic customer journey. We encourage you to map out your customer's journey, what it looks like for your dealership specifically. But once they find you online, they see your listing, they click on it, maybe they even go to your website. What will influence this consideration and resolve concerns phase of their journey? And that's connecting with your business, getting the information that they need to choose you. Maybe they go to your site and they see your inventory, but they have a specific question about a certain make or model, or about what the process looks like to purchase the car. They're going to have a lot of questions about their specific situation. Maybe those questions are even on a frequently asked question page on your site, but purchasing a car is one of the bigger purchases that somebody makes in their life, besides maybe a home. And the customer is going to take care to work with someone that they feel comfortable with, that they have a relationship with. So once they find you online, you want to make it insanely easy for them to contact you, either from your Google My Business page, from your website, from if maybe they're finding you on Facebook. Make it very easy for them to reach out to you and resolve those concerns in a method that is convenient and preferred by them. I don't know if you have anything to add there, Isaac.
Yeah, I think like in the simplest of ways, like convenience wins, right? Like I think that's ultimately like should be the goal of every dealership when you're thinking about working with your customers. How can I make it more convenient for them to interact with me? And how easy is that process from the point they find me to the point they're walking out, with their unit that they wanted to purchase from you. And so I think that's really where we have to like dig into our processes and like, what does that look like? Put yourself in the customer's shoes. And, I like some of the things we've recommended for some of our dealers, window shop your team, window shop your own processes and see what it's like. Do it anonymously and see, what that process from the point they find you to the point that, they're setting up an appointment, what that looks like, and so I think that will go a long way to see how convenient is my process. And basically how, what kind of experience am I providing to my customer, and is it in line with what's working out there? So.
No, I think that's a great point there, Isaac. So as we sort of stick on the concept of processes, touch points between the dealer and customer is obviously one of the key factors that can make the transition and the process successful. So I'm just interested to hear from you guys. Are there any particular touch points dealers should pay attention to during the sales process?
Yeah, in the simplest of ways, all of them, right? Like all the touch points. Like we're living in this unprecedented times where the reality is there's inventory shortages out there. We just are coming off a pandemic. We're all trying to figure out how to operate in this kind of this new reality that we're in. So the reality is, are we basically, again, coming back to the convenience point, are we conveniently making it convenient for our customers to reach out to us in the channels that they prefer? And there's a lot of them out there, but we have to basically make sure that we're opening up those lines of communication and we're not shying away from them, and we're diving into them. So I want people to think of like, obviously your web chat, like that's typically the one that stands out, on your website. Like how easy is it for me to interact with you from your website to the point that I'm coming in to pick up a unit? Some of the new things that are coming out there, Apple Business Chat, a lot of dealerships are starting to, take advantage of this. But as you look at touch points, it's not only about the initial touch points. I think like as we look at touch points, the first is probably the most important. Are we responding right away from those different channels that the customers are reaching out to? So are we accessible through our web chat, through our Apple Business Chat, through Google Click to Chat? Are we responding right away and making ourselves accessible and answering the questions the customers want? But from there, what is our process until the point that they are walking out of our dealership, with their unit? And so I think the touch points that you have to look at is how are your employees interacting with the customers? Are they just texting them basic things, just trying to push them to get to the dealership? Or are they really trying to basically solve their needs via text, via email, which like in this new reality, we have to know that that's basically something we're going to have to adapt to. Is at those touch points, a lot of people are wanting to basically do the whole car buying process before they even come into the dealership. And you're going to get a lot more of that, as people switch to this online method. So those are some of the touch points to think about. And then as you think of touch points, what are you doing differently to be innovative, to interact with your customers? And so I think that's like what touch points are you adding to your process, in that case. So just, quick tip for everyone, an idea, that a lot of our dealerships are using is, live video communication, where people are a little bit weary, is there a touch point? Do you want to add that as part of your process of, let me do, a virtual walk around this vehicle and show it to you before you even come in and answer any of your questions? I don't recommend doing that from the first touch point, like somebody might get weirded out. They're trying to video chat with them from the beginning, but I do, like, as you build the rapport online, like, people are opening up to that, and they want a more convenient feature. So as you look at touch points, it has to be, are our touch points refined, and are we adding the right touch points in our area to our dealership based on employees? Do we feel like we could handle these things? And I think there's a happy median for every dealership, because we all know, right? No dealership, whether they're selling the same things or not, like, it's very rare that everyone is running the same, right? We have different employees, different processes, and that's one of the uniquenesses of our industry that makes us special, that we can all accomplish the goals, and sometimes we don't have to do it the exact same way. So.
No,
And like Isaac saying, all of the touch points are important. The ones to focus on the most are going to be the ones that have the most friction in your specific customer's journey. So they're all important, but maybe you have the first 3 nailed down and it's a great experience for your customers, but maybe the actual purchase step and touch point, maybe there's more friction there. So focus on that touch point, but definitely look at your processes, your specific business, and from the eyes of a customer, and see where you can make it more convenient and easy for them.
Okay, great, guys. That's some really great, useful points there. I'm sure our audience will love hearing about those and moving forward with their plans. But obviously, kind of moving on, tell us a bit about how Podium can help dealers do this, because obviously there's a lot of moving pieces involved, and there's a lot of things to consider. So we'd love to kind of hear how dealers can work with you guys to make sure they can get sort of the best options possible, and they can kind of have that smooth transition all the way through the sales process.
Yeah. So, I think the thing for us that stands out the most in like Podium and specifically, and kind of the theme that, we are using when communicating with our customers and the dealerships out there, is create a process and like basically use Podium in a sense that it makes it convenient, not only for your customers, but for your staff. And I think that second part there for your staff is crucial, because I think that's a lot of times where we come up short. Is there's so many tools out there. There's so many processes, everyone, I know how it is out there, and everyone's offering you the next big solution that's going to change the game for you and is going to help you sell 3,000 more cars in a year. And the reality is, though, if your staff isn't bought in, it doesn't matter if you buy the best software out there, it's going to be very hard to succeed. So, and that's one of the things that Podium ourselves, we pride ourselves on, and we know there's a lot of great tools out there, just so everyone knows, like, we know that. And for us, like for me, what I tell my customers, yes, I'd love you to use Podium, but at the end of the day, I do want you to use what's going to make you most successful. And so in this case, we do feel like with Podium, we've come up with that process, that we've built a tool that basically can run from point A all the way to point Z in a customer buying process. So from the point they reach out to you, to the point they're looking at your reviews, to the point they want to communicate, do they want a video chat? Do you want to collect a deposit from them via text to pay? And then do you want to chat? Like, we can consolidate all of those processes into our tool. But what's made us so successful is we've made it very easy to install, and we've made it very user-friendly for the staff. And that's really what I tell all my dealerships is, hey, like, your staff will be bought in because you're consolidating, 4 to 5 processes within our tool. And now, you're not having to train, the new employee on 4 different tools and give them 4 different logins. There's one login. But in that case, where we make it super easy is obviously the install, but just think of convenience. And that is ultimately our goal, is convenience from, you know, point A to point Z for your customers and your staff. And, you know, that's why we have over, you know, 5,000 dealerships using us across North America. And, you know, we've seen the success we have because we've created a process that, and with that being said, a process that's customizable to your dealership. And that's the last thing I'll share. We've built something here that tell all of my customers, I don't expect you and your team to change all of your processes to use Podium. I expect Podium to fit to you and your team and your processes, and we will customize alongside with you to make sure it's successful. And that's how we get buy-in from the staff. And so those are some of the things, but, you know, we've been able to basically create a customer interaction management platform that any interaction you're having can all be done within Podium, and make it super easy for customers and staff alike. So.
Okay. So how do dealers get in touch with you? Obviously, if they're interested to learn more, what's the best way to get in touch with you? Perhaps we can put something in the chat, like a link, and then they can reach out to you after the webinar.
Yeah, I'll put some in there. I'll put a link to our website. You can also text or call us. Just put it in there at that number there. It's 1-833-276-3486, or you can email us at webinars@podium.com, and we'll see if Podium's a fit, or if you have questions about customer journey or anything, we'd love to be here as a resource for you. So feel free to reach out to us at any of those ways.
Okay, great. Isaac, Haley, before we get into sort of the Q&A, is there anything else you'd like to mention on a final note?
Well, one thing I want to say is we went over a lot, and it can probably seem kind of overwhelming with, you know, make the customer journey completely convenient and totally frictionless and the best experience ever for all your customers, and make it easy for your staff. But what we'd say here is it doesn't have to be as complicated as we're making it sound right now. It's something that a lot of businesses are doing. We actually work with over 90,000 businesses, local businesses. Not all of them are in the auto industry, but we're working with them to make their customer journey convenient, and it's helping. It's making the journey more convenient, both for customers and for businesses, because we know you're already busy, especially with everything that went on last year, and low inventory and closing and reopening and all of that. We know that you're already super busy. We don't want to add things to your plate. We want to make it easier. We want to make it easier for you, which will in turn make it easier and more convenient for your customers to build that relationship. That's one aspect that's been a little bit trickier right now, with in-person interactions being lower or fewer and maybe a little bit more nuanced. But you can continue to build a relationship with your customers throughout the entire journey. And that's what you do best, is working with customers, giving them recommendations of vehicles based off of their specific needs. And you're already doing that, and you're great at that. So how can we do it digitally if need be? And texting is a great option for that.
Let's just see if we've got any questions coming through the chat. Okay, so we've got one question here. So how do we respond to negative reviews?
That's a great question. Look, the first recommendation is always keep it high level and keep it simple. The last thing you want to do when it comes to negative reviews, and look, I've been working with dealerships for some time now, and it's hard because, we've worked at the dealership a long time. It's our dealership. Someone's speaking negatively about it, but we have to take the emotion out of it, because the last thing you want to do is get into, some sort of argument online that makes it look like, hey, this dealership, is combative. They didn't provide a great experience. So the one thing I always recommend is always keep it high level. Basically acknowledge that, they felt that they had a bad experience, whether it was, whether it's true or not, just acknowledge it, but then offer a resolution. And the reason you want to do that is because other people are looking at how you respond to those customers. So they're going to be like, okay, they got a bad review. What did they say here? And so one of the things that goes a long way is if I'm a manager at one of the dealerships, I would probably make myself available. Hey, I'm sorry that, this experience, happened, or you felt that, you were treated this way. I want you to reach out to me personally so we can get things resolved. And then, put your name and maybe, your number to your dealership on there. And that way, you can basically help resolve the issue. But basically what that does is it just shows other people reading through your reviews that, okay, this is a dealership that wants to resolve any bad experience that people are having. And then as they see all the good reviews you have, then basically that'll drown out that one negative one that they read. And because we know the negatives are few and far in between. So we just want to make sure that, when you do respond, you keep it high level and just acknowledge a customer, but more importantly, just offer a resolution, that you're willing to help and you want to change the way they feel.
We have another question here as well. Does your company offer training and continuous training, i.e. updates, new employees, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, 100%. It's one of the things we pride ourselves on is our customer success. We just for example, we don't call them account managers. We call them customer success managers because that is our goal, that continuously as the market changes and the landscape changes, that we're changing along with it. And we're making sure that you are as well. And we're keeping you up to date. And yes, we will continuously offer training and strategy and make sure that, any new things that are out there in the market that you should be aware of, we're going to let you know. Anything we're seeing on our end. And then the one thing I can tell everyone, specifically about Podium is the reality is we continuously are improving and innovating our solution because the world is, right? So as the world innovates, we have to innovate with it. And our goal is to stay ahead of the curve in basically, in essence, resulting in our customers staying ahead of the curve with us. So.
And what your experience will look like, I mean, it may differ from customer to customer, but we have trainings in the form of videos that you can watch. We have a help center that you can watch videos on demand to help with the product. And then we have a support team for specific issues. And then like Isaac was saying, you'll have a customer success manager that can help with industry trends and with strategy. That's a very, very personalized and specific to you. So the short answer is yes. The long answer was absolutely plus some.
Okay, great. We have another question here actually. So from David, any feedback regarding the average number of dealers that clients will contact, negotiate with via email this year?
I don't know if we have the data regarding the average number of dealers. But the one thing I can tell you is email, this is the one thing I share with all dealerships, email and even for us, just in general, taking away the auto industry, but just business in general, any businesses, email's probably never going anywhere. It's going to be around and we should always be adapting and trying to improve our email experience. But the one thing I think we will see in that trend is we're going to start to see clients start to reach out more and more through some of these more convenient channels. And I think email, it's something that we have to adapt to and make sure that we're improving that email experience. And, it might have to come with images and whatnot and make it a little bit more easier to digest. But I think the one thing we will see is a shift from email to texting to some of these other channels that people are seeing like Facebook and whatnot. So.
One more from Kaylee Hardy. Yes. Okay. So how often should companies be promoting themselves on social media? And other than posting monthly specials, how else can, as dealers, can we get our name out there?
Yeah, I can take this one. We are not social media experts and we don't claim to be either. We'd probably recommend reaching out to a social media expert for that specifically to help with a strategy for posting on social media, different post types, a cadence for which days and times, and different ways to engage your audience and increase your following there. In terms of getting your name out and being known amongst your potential customers, we would actually not without forgetting social media, we would say to focus on Google. Google is the most preferred search engine amongst searchers. And so Google is a great place to focus your efforts. You don't want to forget about social media sites like Facebook and Instagram, but we would say focus on on Google and make sure you're getting those reviews, because that's usually how people are finding your business.
Isaac, Haley, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. Really enjoyed hosting this webinar with you. And
thank you. And thank you everyone for joining.
yeah, thanks everybody. I really appreciate it.